Traveling to another blue star, Lin Chen awakened to the catch and sell system. Can capture strangeness and sell it to the black mine for mining, in exchange for divine strangeness. Unfortunately, there are too few mysteries in this peaceful world. In this situation, Lin Chen has been searching for a needle in a haystack for 20 years, but still has little to gain. Until one day, Lin Chen received an invitation letter from a thriller game. This time marks the beginning of the purchasing life. In the ghost restaurant, the leader looked at his empty restaurant with tears streaming down his face. In the eerie school, the students trembled and the principal lit a cigarette for them. There is also a dungeon wasteland that makes all human players feel extremely terrifying, ultimately becoming a true wasteland. And I don't know when, but in the world of horror, a legend of a mysterious trafficker named Uncle Chen began to spread keywords of the novel. 20 years of monster hunting, I entered the thriller game without a pop-up window. 20 years of monster hunting, I entered the thriller game TXT complete collection download. 20 years of monster hunting, I entered the latest chapter of thriller games to read. Chapter 1. Scam and Sell System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Scam and Sell System. In the dimly lit corridor, a middle-aged man dressed in blue ran around in fear, possibly due to fear. He looked a bit panicked and rushed around, causing some of the facilities in the corridor to fall into pieces. Behind him, there was a very young-looking man greedily chasing after him. The man was wrapped in a faint black aura all over his body, like a creature walking out of an abyss. In the dim light, the young man's face was greedy and ferocious, looking particularly eerie and terrifying. As the young man strode to catch up, the distance between him and the middle-aged man in green clothes ahead continued to shorten. Please, let me go. Don't pester me anymore. The middle-aged man in green clothes looked even more frightened when he saw this, trembling and pleading for mercy. The young man did not respond and continued to relentlessly pursue, while emitting eerie laughter in his mouth. Jia jia jia. His laughter echoed continuously in the corridor, as if a fierce ghost was calling out its soul. This made the middle-aged man in green even more afraid, and a cold breath rose from the bottom of his heart, wishing to have 2 more legs and run away desperately. At the same time, he kept picking up some trash cans and throwing them back in an attempt to create chaos for the young man behind him. Although the middle-aged man in blue knows that this has no effect on the presence behind him, as the footsteps behind him are gradually approaching, but this is the only thing he can do. The distance gets closer and closer. Finally, the sound of footsteps had already sounded in his ears, and the middle-aged Qingyi felt a chill in his heart. Before he could hear his pleading for mercy, he only heard a crash and his eyes were completely plunged into pitch black. Finally caught you. Lin Chen shook the pink sack in his hand with joy on his face, ignoring the struggles of the middle-aged man in green clothes inside, calmly tying the bag tightly. As he moved, the struggle inside the sack suddenly stopped, and the size of the pink sack continued to shrink, eventually becoming only the size of a palm. System, sell him. Lin Chen couldn't wait to speak up. Received, please select the seller. Lin Chen thought for a moment and said, this ghost has been in the hospital for so long. He must have some medical skills. Let's sell it to the hospital and try to sell it for a good price. The reselling has failed. This ghost can only be cured, not humans. There are no hospitals willing to take over from the various gods' mysterious coins. However, many black mining areas in the world currently lack workers, and the price is slightly higher. Should we resell them? Lin Chen said with some regret, resale. Successfully resold and obtained 300 divine and mysterious coins. The purchase price of the black mining area is currently the highest in the heavenly world and has been set as the default reselling address. Okay, 300 divine and mysterious coins are also quite a lot. Open the system panel. Host. Lin Chen, stamina. 150, the limit for ordinary people is 10, spirit. 150, the the limit for ordinary people is 10, ghost power. 190, skills. Unlocking, tracking, breathing, transfiguration, back attack, poison master. Ebao. The systems built that in pink burlap bag, can recycle any ghost, Shen Gui coin balance. 500, achievement task. Accumulate 10,000 divine and mysterious coins, currently 7,000/10,000. This is the result of his efforts over the past 18 years since he traveled to this world. This world is almost the same as the Earth in his previous life. When he first crossed over, he was just an orphan, growing up in an orphanage called Dian Dian. As he grew older, he unexpectedly awakened to the ghost hunting and reselling system. Excited, he searched for opportunities and searched for ghosts everywhere from then on. However, this world is not a ghost world at all. It is exactly the same as the previous blue star. Ghosts can be said to be even rarer than giant pandas. For many people, they simply do not believe in the existence of ghosts. Even Lin Chen himself, if he did not happen to awaken the system, may find it difficult to believe that there will be ghosts in this world. Under these conditions of searching for a needle in a haystack, Lin Chen wandered around various cities for 10 years, only to catch 20 ghosts. Finally, through systematic reselling, he gained his current strength. Looking at his attribute panel, Lin Chen felt slightly relieved. But seeing the column of skills, Lin Chen's joy of just capturing the ghost couldn't help but be diluted. What the hell are these things? Over the years, all the ghosts caught have been sold, but the only function of the dog system is actually a lottery. Including today's Qinili ghost, all the ghosts he caught were sold as divine and mysterious coins, which were then used for lucky draws. However, the skills he drew each time were either tracking techniques or hallucinogenic drugs. Is this a skill that an expert should possess? At least I also graduated from college, and when others see me, they think I am a blind person. Detected that the balance of divine coin has reached 500. May I ask if the host has withdrawn it yet? Draw. Many skills don't weigh me down, don't you keep them for the Chinese New Year. 10 consecutive draws open. As soon as the system finished speaking, a vortex appeared in Lin Chen's mind that looked like a crack in time and space, and at the same time, items emerged from it. Congratulations on obtaining 3 physical fruits and 5 spiritual fruits. Congratulations on obtaining the golden quality reward. Jin Jing, golden quality reward. 10 ghost slapping palms cash out. And it's a skill that I've never drawn before. White, blue, purple, gold, and red. The quality arrangement of the system's rewards. This is the first time Lin Chen has received a golden quality reward. Lin Chen was shocked and immediately overjoyed. This time it's really a burst of European gas. The physical and mental fruits are 2 essential rewards that are almost always given in every lottery, and belong to the comfort prize category. Being able to permanently increase his physical and mental health, Lin Chen's courage to confront ghosts now relies on the strength obtained from the physical and mental fruits extracted by the system. In addition to these 2, the Comfort Award also has a type of ghost power fruit that allows him to possess a power called ghost power. By using ghost power to permeate his body, he can directly attack ghosts that fall between illusion and entity. For the Common Consolation Award, Lin Chen has not paid attention to it for the time being, but has focused all his attention on the newly emerged techniques. Jin Jing. The most powerful internal mental technique in a certain extraordinary martial arts world, which can generate internal power, wash tendons and cut marrow. The technique is divided into 10 layers. Each layer is completed, and the tendons and marrow are washed and cut once. The purity and total amount of internal power greatly increase. After completing the technique, one can have a clean constitution. This method is extremely difficult to practice. Even a peerless genius cannot achieve great success without 30 years of hard work. Ghost slaying 10 palms. An extraordinary palm technique that causes astonishing damage to ghosts, known as the nemesis of the ghost path. It consists of 10 palms, and with each palm cultivated, its power will increase exponentially. Note: after receiving the cultivation method, it will automatically cultivate to the first level. After seeing the introduction, Lin Chen was so excited that he almost jumped up. The dog system finally became a human. These two martial arts are too important for him. After all, he currently only has some mental skills and life support skills, none of which can be used for frontal combat. This is not the place for research right now. Lin Chen adjusted his clothes, coughed lightly, and then walked straight downstairs. This is a hospital, possibly due to a ghost, causing the elevator on the 5th floor to stop working, so Lin Chen had to walk down the stairs. Lin Chen had just ascended to the 4th floor when he saw a middle-aged bald man with a big belly, guarding there with a face full of anxiety and fear. The bald middle-aged man saw Lin Chen come down and looked delighted. He quickly leaned forward and said, "Little brother, you have finally come down. Where is that thing upstairs?" Lin Chen glanced at the bald middle-aged man and remembered that he had just rescued him when he ran to the 5th floor to catch the middle-aged ghost in green clothes. He smiled and said, "I have already eliminated it. Your hospital can operate normally now." Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man suddenly felt a burst of ecstasy, his big mouth almost grinning to his ear, and he smiled. "Little brother, it's amazing. What an expert. In the past month, 3 medical staff members have died consecutively on the 5th floor of the hospital, and the situation is so tragic. Many employees have said that there is something unclean on the 5th floor, which is very evil, but I never want ghosts in this world. I didn't expect to not only bump into ghosts today, but also encounter a master like you. It really opened my eyes." Lin Chen was pondering about going home to study martial arts, feeling a bit absent-minded. The middle-aged bald man didn't pay close attention to his words, only listened to a few words before suddenly hesitating and asking, "Open your eyes. Did that ghost open your eyes just now?" A middle-aged man almost choked to death by Lin Chen's words. What opened my eyes to? What's wrong with this kid's ears? He sorted out his thoughts and said, "Little brother, you have solved a big problem for our hospital. We should thank you a lot, especially since you saved my life again. My surname is Hao and I am the director of this hospital. If you have any needs in the future, it doesn't matter." "Thank you, it's not necessary. It would be even better if there is a reward." Dean Hao almost didn't come up in one breath. Do all experts have this kind of demeanor? If it weren't for watching the young man in front of him with a whip in one hand and a stool in the other, beating the middle-aged ghost in green clothes and fleeing around, he would have doubted encountering a scammer. Are all the forms of experts unique? Dean Hao said, "I have some compensation, but I have to apply upwards and it's quite troublesome. After all, if someone is haunted, it's too unbelievable for others. Apply upwards." Lin Chen shook his head and said, "There's no need to apply upwards. I don't like to make a big fuss about it. Also, Director Hao, remember to keep this matter confidential. It's best not to let any third person know except you and me." Lin Chen doesn't want to reveal his uniqueness. For over a decade, when he was catching ghosts, some people did unexpectedly discover his situation. However, after friendly negotiations with Lin Chen, without exception, everyone was able to remain silent. Among them, there were also 1 or 2 who could not be talked about. Lin Chen used a medication called obedient water, drawn from the system, combined with his super-strong mental power, to forcefully help the other party wash away their memories. Director Hao nodded repeatedly. He, who has been in society for so many years, is still very upright. He said, I understand. This is the demeanor of a master. Don't worry, I promise even my wife and children won't say anything about it. However, if you don't apply, I can only give you some personal compensation on my end. It's just not much. I have a total of 5,002 yuan in private money now. 5,002, that's enough. This is enough for me to spend half a year. After scanning each other's codes and leaving contact information, Lin Chen received a huge sum of 5,000 yuan and left 2 yuan for Dean Hao to buy water and drink. Haha laughed and exchanged compliments with Dean Hao, while putting the obedient water back into the system space. After a moment, Lin Chen glanced around and found that his WeChat balance had reached 5250. He happily tilted his mouth and went home. After Lin Chen left, Dean Hao called for several security guards and, accompanied by everyone, suppressed palpitations and fear and walked up to the 5th floor of the hospital's inpatient department again. Finally, this time the 5th floor no longer had the gloomy feeling it had before. All the lights became naturally bright, the air was no longer turbid, and the surveillance footage, which had been difficult to repair, continued to be recorded as usual. After verifying these, Dean Hao finally breathed a complete sigh of relief. After dismissing everyone, Dean Hao glanced at his new friend Feixin on his phone. The username is me, in broad daylight, and the avatar is a selfie with a sunny smile on his face, which is exactly Lin Chen himself. In the chat records, there is also a transfer record of 5,000 yuan. Dean Hao silently deleted the transfer record and couldn't help but mutter to himself, I really opened my eyes. Bah. June 18th, too many advertisements, set 1 fan value for comments. Thank you for your understanding, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Invitations to Thriller Games. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Invitations to Thriller Games. After leaving the hospital, Lin Chen walked straight home. He lives in the suburbs of Linjiang City, and Dean Hao's hospital is also located in the suburbs, not far from each other. Walking slowly all the way, feeling the gentle autumn evening breeze, Lin Chen's expression was very joyful. There's nothing else. He finally caught the ghost again after 2 years. Since binding the ghost catching system, Lin Chen has been going out every night to search for ghosts. The solitary graves of barren mountains and ridges, the disorderly burial mounds left unattended, the cold morgue of hospitals, and the crematorium where one's life ends. Lin Chen would go to these places to check in every 3 days or 2, just to meet a ghost for good luck. Thinking of the hardships of these years, Lin Chen couldn't help but sigh and couldn't help but say, System, did you choose the wrong place? There aren't many ghosts in this world at all. Can a system that makes money by reselling ghosts have a way to survive in this world? System. Lin Chen's expression was casual, but as he was about to get home, his expression suddenly froze. Just in front of him, a black shadow emitting a hint of yin energy was rushing towards him at an extremely fast speed. Ghosts. Lin Chen was startled, but quickly realized that it was only yin qi, without the fluctuation of ghost power, and could not be a ghost. Lin Chen furrowed his brows, but was not careless. Instead, he stared earnestly at the dark figure, with a faint black aura on his body, ready to take action at any time. However, as the dark shadow approached Lin Chen, its speed suddenly changed, like a leaf falling lightly in front of him. Lin Chen instinctively took it and took a closer look. It turned out to be an unopened black envelope. Is it a letter written by a ghost? How could it fall here? Lin Chen was very surprised. Nowadays, ghosts in society can write letters. With a casual wipe, all the yin energy on the envelope was wiped away before opening it. Black envelope. Dear lucky person on the 59th, hello. Congratulations on receiving the invitation to join the ghost restaurant. You will be joining the ghost restaurant as a waiter 24 hours after receiving the envelope. Welcome to join the ghost world. This will be a thrilling trip and we look forward to your arrival. Invitations from Thriller Games. Next to the signature, there is also an extremely eerie skull smiling face. The following postscript is a countdown time. 23:59, 52 3.59.49 Notice of Onboarding. Lin Chen widened his eyes, not startled by the content of the letter, but feeling somewhat incredulous. He has been specializing in catching ghosts for 20 years, but rarely encounters ghosts, which shows how many ghosts there are in this world. Not to mention restaurants run by evil spirits, this is simply impossible to exist, okay? But the yin energy on the letter cannot be false, and it is impossible for him to use a pen to write the time that can be skipped. Lin Chen pondered for a moment. Although he really wanted to visit this haunted restaurant, there was not even a signpost on the letter, so he had to put the envelope in his pocket and walk straight home. He felt that something might happen after the 24-hour countdown on the envelope ended. Suddenly discovering clues about ghosts, Lin Chen began to look forward to it. Shortly after Lin Chen left, a pair of men and women dressed in black anxiously arrived at the position where Lin Chen had just stood. The two of them searched around with instruments for half a day, and the woman with an unpleasant expression finally took out a phone and dialed a number. Team leader, we have reached the location where the invitation letter signal on the 59th disappeared last, but we haven't found anything around. Is there no residual yin energy? Has the invitation letter disappeared out of thin air? The voice on the phone was that of a middle-aged man, who also appeared somewhat surprised at the moment. No, it's very clean, like someone wiped away the yin energy from the invitation letter itself, the woman said almost with a stiff face. Because when selecting players for the invitation letter in thriller games, it is definitely for novice players. Novice players represent ordinary people, how could they possibly have the ability to erase yin qi? The other end of the phone fell silent for a long time, and the middle-aged man over their side and said. In that case, you can go to the location of the invitation letter on the 60th. The signal over there has not disappeared. It is necessary to bring back the players who have received the invitation letter and keep it confidential. Our department is responsible for the dungeon named Mengue Restaurant, which is very dangerous. Please find all the new players and bring them to the headquarters as soon as possible. The selected trainers and guides have been prepared. Received. After a moment, Lin Chen returned home. The place where Lin Chen lives is a staircase in an old residential area, because it would make the rent cheaper. 3 months later, after graduating from university, Lin Chen moved in and did not look for a job during these 3 months. Although he was in great need of money, his mind was still more focused on searching for ghosts and catching them everywhere. Going to school is to acquire knowledge and integrate into the world, and the time is fixed. There are also winter and summer vacations every year, which does not affect his ability to catch ghosts. And there is not much need for work. As for the source of income, currently all rely on Lin Chen's unlocking skills. The unlocking technique obtained by the system allows Lin Chen to easily open any lock type. Therefore, with this skill, Lin Chen occasionally accepts orders on some platforms to alleviate the embarrassment of insufficient funds. As soon as he entered the house, Lin Chen couldn't wait to close the doors and windows and pull the curtains. System, extract the Yi Jin Jing. These two techniques have been making Lin Chen's heart itch for a long time, but he has not had a suitable opportunity to extract them. Mainly, Lin Chen is also worried that if he extracts the techniques, there will be some movement that may be discovered. Successfully extracted the Yi Jin Jing and automatically trained it into the first layer for the host. In an instant, Lin Chen felt a surge of memory infused into his brain, which was the cultivation method of the Yi Jin Jing. This kind of memory infusion was effortless for him. This is the direct connection between him and people with higher mental values than ordinary people. At the same time, Lin Chen discovered that a force of essence naturally emerged from the dantian, flowing along the ren and du meridians to all 4 limbs and bones. Let him have an indescribable sense of expansion, which is very similar to the feeling he had when he first swallowed the fruits of his physique. His physique is greatly improving. The essence of this power is internal power, flowing like blood in Lin Chen's flesh and blood. In addition to enhancing Lin Chen's own strength, this power also comprehensively cleanses Lin Chen's meridians and bones. His body surface began to ooze impurities of black mucus. The internal power of the Yi Jin Jing washed Lin Chen's body for a full half-hour before it calmed down. Lin Chen opened his eyes and a visible aura flashed through them. He used his internal strength and took a light breath. Suddenly, this mouthful of carbon dioxide shattered a glass cup on the table like an air bomb. Lin Chen was overjoyed. This is simply an incredible power. At the same time, there has been a significant increase in one's physical fitness. Stamina value. 170 points, a full 20-point improvement. The power increase of the Yi Jin Jing is quite significant, coupled with the unpredictable internal power, which greatly increases Lin Chen's strength. And this is just the first level of realm. You should know that the Yi Jin Jing has 10 levels. If all the cultivation is successful, Lin Chen is not sure how strong he will be. The systematic introduction to the Yi Jin Jing is the most powerful internal skill in a certain super martial world. I think there will be a significant difference in the power of the Shaolin Yi Jin Jing compared to some martial arts novels from previous lives. Lin Chen is very satisfied with the effect of the Yi Jin Jing, which not only gives him internal strength but also increases his physique. Next, Lin Chen went to the bathroom and cleaned the unpleasant and pungent impurities on his body surface, then shifted his gaze to another cultivation method. Slash the ghost 10 times. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Really needs to be published this time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 really needs to be published this time. System, extract the 10 slaps of the demon slaying. Successfully extracted the 10 ghost slaying palms, automatically trained into the first level of palm technique for the host. With the same memory infusion, a brand new palm technique appeared in Lin Chen's mind, with detailed records. The first palm technique was already clear to Lin Chen's mind, and with just a mental movement, he could use his internal power or ghost power to trigger the palm technique. Lin Chen put on his clothes, left home, and found a deserted place outside. The experiment started. He placed his palm in front of his chest, and the ghostly power flowed through his body, chopping forward with a palm. In an instant, a sinister wind rose everywhere, with Lin Chen as the center. A black palm wind that could be clearly seen in the dark appeared, with a cold and fierce force, rushing towards the empty space ahead. It wasn't until several tens of meters later that the palm wind slowly weakened and eventually dissipated into the air. However, the originally green grassland in front of Lin Chen has been opened up with a large flat area of several tens of square meters. Lin Chen was overjoyed. You should know that the empty space on the ground is only caused by the lingering power of the palm wind, and Lin Chen's palm was not aimed at the ground. If this palm were to hit the ghost, it would probably be like a middle-aged man in green clothes, who is at the level of a green-clothed ghost, leaving no residue left. This surrender is a powerful tool, you should use it with caution in the future. Ghosts are such precious things, killing them would be a great loss. Lin Chen wandered around in the wilderness again and didn't see any ghosts, so he returned home in the early morning. On the way, Lin Chen ate 3 physical fruits and 5 spiritual fruits one after another. This type of fruit is collectively referred to as the basic attribute fruit by Lin Chen, and belongs to the comfort prize when there is no winning. But most of Lin Chen's current strength comes from this, but for Lin Chen, the improvement brought by the current basic attribute fruits is already very small. At first, a fruit increased Lin Chen's attributes by 10 points, but later it gradually became 9.8 points. Now, a basic fruit can only increase its attributes by 2 points. Physical fitness. 176 spirit. 160 at this point, all rewards have been digested. Lin Chen climbed onto the bed and soon fell asleep. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, as soon as Lin Chen opened his eyes, he picked up the invitation letter for the thriller game and looked at it. 12:0.05 There are still 12 hours left. After thinking for a moment, Lin Chen opened his computer, connected to the Wi-Fi upstairs, and searched online. Search. Thriller games, thrilling. A middle-aged woman is actually playing games with a dog at home. Lin Chen. Search. Ghost restaurant web page. Too fierce. I found a centipede in the dish, why did I go to this restaurant to eat it? Lin Chen. Search. Ghost letter. Search. The time that will move on the letter. Lin Chen searched for all the words that could be associated, but found nothing. The letter stated that he was the lucky one on the 59th, and Lin Chen speculated that it was very likely that nearly 60 people had also received similar letters. However, online, no clues were found. This kind of base is not something that is popularized. But if a normal person receives a letter with an automatic countdown, combined with the eerie text on the invitation letter, they may have been frightened and called the police, causing chaos. Am I overthinking it? Didn't more than 50 people receive invitations at the same time? Is number 59 representing the 59th person this ghost is killing? But what level of ghost is this? With the ghost power on the letter, it is difficult to detect the strength of the ghost behind it. It is likely to be in red. Red clothes are ghosts higher than blue clothes. The system has released various levels of ghost price ranges, and Lin Chen has learned about the realm of ghosts from them. But he has never seen a ghost like the red clothes level, and even the green clothes level ghost has only been caught for about 20 years. In this world, ghosts are really rare. It always gives Lin Chen a feeling of crossing the wrong world or binding the wrong system. But now the invitation letter for this thriller game has greatly aroused Lin Chen's interest. With a physique of 176, combined with the I Jing Jing and the 10 palms of the demon slaying, even in red clothes, Lin Chen would not be afraid. The next day, Lin Chen stayed at home, playing the recently popular escape game in the secret room while passing the time, waiting for the countdown on the invitation letter to end. A day's time flies by in an instant. It wasn't until half an hour before the countdown that Lin Chen got up and left home. Return to the wilderness once again. If a fierce ghost comes knocking after the countdown ends, he doesn't need to worry about not being able to let go here. After all, the invitation letter only stated that he would be appointed as a waiter, without any explanation for other locations. It's possible that a ghost might appear to lead him to the destination. Lin Chen sat quietly on a stone, waiting for the countdown to end. 00.10.00 There are still 10 minutes left. 00.03.0000.00.0200.01 The countdown was over, and Lin Chen opened his eyes, his gaze sharp and fierce. He was all tense, like a fierce beast in the mountain that sensed danger. Internal power is surging, and ghost energy is spreading, emitting a breathtaking aura. He placed one hand on his chest, ready to slap the ghost 10 times at any time. However, the surroundings were silent, without any changes, except for a gentle breeze blowing by. Lin Chen. Where are ghosts? Lin Chen quickly looked at the invitation letter for the thriller game again and found that after the countdown reset to 0, this seemingly strange invitation letter became very ordinary. Is this really a prank? Lin Chen's face was slightly black, with a feeling of being played with. Just at this moment, a strong suction came from the invitation letter in his hand, as if he was about to suck Lin Chen in. Lin Chen instinctively used all his strength to resist, but his most confident physique, under this suction, had no resistance. Lin Chen's figure was instantly sucked into the invitation letter, and then the seemingly ordinary invitation letter slowly dissipated. In the colorful light, Lin Chen spun uncontrollably. After about a few breaths, a down-to-earth feeling came and Lin Chen's body regained control. He opened his eyes and was immediately shocked because the scene in front of him had changed. The moment before, it was still a lush and spring-filled mountain forest. In the latter moment, it was replaced by a restaurant that was decorated elegantly but with dim and yellowish lighting. In the restaurant, the red tables and chairs seem to be dyed with blood, and the lighting on the roof is filled with human skulls, eerie and terrifying. The air emits a faint bloody smell and an incredibly rich energy. Surrounding Lin Chen stood a stunned human with expressions of shock and fear. Are those over 50 people who received the invitation letter? Lin Chen only glanced at these humans and then shifted his gaze to the ghost staring at them with greedy and eerie eyes. Chingy ghost, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10, 11 hush. So many. That's the red-clothed ghost. The first time I saw a ghost in red, Lin Chen was so excited that he was almost gasping for breath. Red-clothed level ghost, with prices ranging from 1,000 to 500 divine and mysterious coins. Lin Chen looked at the ugly and ferocious ghosts with a burning heart, wishing he could laugh up in the sky. This is simply a holy land. I'm getting rich. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Approaching the existence of the evil god. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Approaching the existence of the evil god. I really posted it. Lin Chen was so excited at the back of the crowd that he almost jumped up. Then, when no one was paying attention, he quickly covered his face and revealed himself with a different look. This is a disguising technique extracted from the system, which allows you to freely change your appearance. Previously, Lin Chen thought he couldn't use it anymore, but now he feels it's still very practical. After all, he's here to do big things. Welcome to the thriller game. This instance. Ghost Restaurant. Personal account will be bound. Players are requested to choose a name. This is a desolate female voice, completely different from the system's prompt sound. It should be the sound generated by this thrilling game. Lin Chen thought to himself and calmly replied, in broad daylight. Sorry, the name you have chosen is suspected of violating regulations. Please reselect it. Lin Chen. Walled-kill Eagle State. Sorry, the name you have chosen is suspected of violating regulations. Please select a new one. Lin Chen's face turned black. It was a strange and bizarre game, and there were so many illegal judgments. Uncle Chen. The player's name has been set to morning. The sound of the thriller game suddenly froze halfway through, and at this moment, the sound of the system suddenly rang out in my mind. The player's name has been set as Chen Shu. Detected a thriller game server. Starting assimilation. Assimilation successful, connected to thriller game. Horizontal groove, system cow batch. Lin Chen's mouth was wide open in shock, and he was truly impressed by the operation of the system. Unexpectedly, as soon as I entered, I hacked into a thriller game. It seems like one mountain cannot tolerate two tigers, so the system also has territorial awareness. Automatically joined player chat channel. The number of players participating in this instance is 60. Task. Survive in the ghost restaurant for 7 days. The specific rating is related to the usual performance score. Please play the game with Li Gui. Please, do you really want to pretend like this? Are there any other groups? A chat interface appeared in Lin Chen's mind, and with Lin Chen added, there were a total of 60 people among them. It seems that besides myself, the people around me who are somewhat at a loss are all human players like him, but I don't know if they all came in after receiving black envelopes. Lin Chen looked at these people with great interest, and at the same time, he was surprised to find that among these players, 3 humans also possessed ghost power. These 3 people are dressed in black suits, with 2 men and 1 woman. They are different from ordinary people and do not have overly fearful expressions on their faces, looking quite extraordinary. 1 male and 1 female are relatively young, looking in their early 20s, while the other is in his 30s, slightly older. Young men and women have a ghostly power of around 100, while slightly older men have a higher ghostly power of around 130, all possessing the strength of a green-clad evil ghost. Of course, although Lin Chen can detect the ghostly power of these people, it does not mean that others can also notice him. The systematic lottery winning technique can help Lin Chen converge his various abilities to the extreme. If it weren't for being 2 levels higher than Lin Chen, which is even more powerful than the red-clothed ghost, no one would have been able to detect his abnormalities. At this moment, everyone gathered together. Some people were frightened when they saw those terrifying-looking ghosts, with feces and urine flying everywhere, and even a woman crying out loud. At the same time, various people's information is continuously being sent out in the player channel. Cute rabbit. Surprisingly, there is really a ghost. I'm so scared, woo-woo. I am a doctor and I said, actually, up until now, I can't believe this is true. Qingyun Taoist said, it's too scary. The appearance of these ghosts is even scarier than on TV. I'm going to have a heart attack. The young man on horseback said, I'm 20 years old and I'm afraid I won't pull. King. I have already pulled it, thank you. Xia Qianjin. Woo-woo. You're not going to die, are you? Why did you choose me to participate in this ghost game? Lin Chen was somewhat speechless. Even though he was a group of frightened and foolish people, how could he still have the mood to give himself various internet names? At this moment, those ghosts saw the unbearable state of humanity and their expressions became even more sarcastic. The oldest and strongest among the 3 black-clothed men shouted. Stay calm. I am your protector Zhang Wei. How many times have I told you during the training? After coming to the thriller game, the most important thing is to put aside your timidity first. Have you all forgotten? What's going on? Is there any training available? Lin Chen was stunned on the spot. Why didn't anyone notify me? He, you 2-legged sheep are so impolite as to ruin my dining pleasure. You have to compensate me. At the dining table, a diner with burns all over his body exclaimed discontentedly. This is a green-clothed ghost. Lin Chen glanced at it and his greed flashed through his eyes. He didn't act rashly for the time being, after all, he had just arrived in a strange environment, and he still planned to observe first. And among these ghosts, there are at least 2 red-clothed ones, coupled with many green-clothed evil spirits, rushing forward, and he is not a match for so many ghosts. At this moment, the burn ghost was drooling long and jumped into the crowd with a sly smile, reaching out to grab a fat man with yellow feces on his crotch. At this moment, a figure wearing a black coat blocked the burn ghost in front of him. With one hand tightly gripping the burn ghost's arm, his face stiffened and he said, it hasn't been more than 5 minutes yet, and it's player protection time. Do you want to violate the rules? It was the slightly older man among the 3 black-clothed men with ghostly powers, named Zhang Wei. He has a strong and determined appearance, a deep voice, and bright eyes, staring fixedly at the burn ghost. The burn ghost chuckled and broke free from his hand, saying, I just wanted to say hello to these beginners. The man in black furrowed his brows as he looked at the burned ghost, not continuing to entangle. Fighting against ghosts here is definitely not a good choice because there are too many ghosts here, and no one can fight against so many ghosts, let alone the red-clothed ghost that is 1 level higher than them. In the chat channel. Protector Zhang Wei. In each instance, human players have a 5-minute protection period. Now, as soon as possible, familiarize yourself with everything you can see. The thriller game provides a certain level of protection for humans. As long as you do your job well and are not found by ghosts to attack you, ghosts will not harm you without reason. This is a game, and the game has its rules. Ghosts cannot attack human players at will, so they will resort to any means to find your problem. Even if the excuse is lame, it will become a reason for them to attack you. Therefore, it is important to remain calm and fulfill your responsibilities to the best of your ability. This way, the chance of survival is the greatest. When everyone saw this, they indeed realized that although these ghosts looked terrifying, they did not harm anyone again, and each one began to force themselves to calm down. Subsequently, discussions began in the chat list. Lin Chen nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, since it is called a thriller game and people and ghosts coexist here, otherwise these ghosts would flock to it and 3 black-clad people alone would not be able to protect these ordinary people. Although there are chat channels that can help everyone relieve their emotions, human players still can't help but sweat and dare not breathe. The atmosphere is very oppressive, until 5 minutes later, the player's protection period ends. The game officially begins. A pale-faced man walked out of the back room of the restaurant, looking just like an ordinary person, wearing a red suit and a bow tie. "Hello, I am the head of the ghost restaurant. Welcome to join the ghost restaurant. Now I will explain the rules of the ghost restaurant to you." Whether it was the evil ghost in green or the fierce ghost in red present, they all quieted down when they saw this leader ghost. The 3 people in black looked even more tense, with cold sweat sliding down their cheeks. Even when Lin Chen saw this ghost, his pupils shrank. Heartbroken. This ghost is too strong. The appearance of the leader ghost is no different from that of a living person, but his ghost power is really too powerful. The appearance of the leader ghost may not look as terrifying as other ghosts, but its red clothes and ghostly power, like a prison, make people unable to help but shiver. The ghost power of the Qingyi ghost ranges from 10 to 200. After the blue-clothed ghost breaks through the red-clothed ghost, some of its clothes will turn blood red, and the ghost power will exceed 200, with a limit of 999. In addition to ghostly power, a red-clothed ghost can also judge its strength based on the amount of red clothing on its body. And all the clothes on the leader ghost's body have turned red. Full of red clothes. More than 990 ghost power. This is a red-clothed ghost that is infinitely close to the ferocious god. The leader ghost had a smile on his face, with a very obvious contempt and coldness in his eyes, and said, "You are now employees of Mengue Restaurant. Our Mengue Restaurant's philosophy is to put customers first, so please pay attention to your service attitude." His voice was calm, and it was not difficult to hear the laziness in his tone, but he was covered in a red shirt without any color, and the surging ghost power was almost overwhelming, making it difficult to breathe. After entering the workforce, customers' evaluations of you are very important. Daily performance is calculated based on receiving evaluations. Employees who receive positive reviews will receive a ghost coin reward, while negative reviews will be deducted. If you receive more than 3 negative reviews in total, your life will be wiped out. Well, the chefs in the restaurant don't know how to make the food you humans eat, so you need ghost coin to buy it from the vending machine in the dormitory hallway. Now you will go to your respective changing rooms to change your employees' clothes, and gather in the employee hall in half an hour to prepare for work. After the leader's lazy voice finished talking about some regulations, he pointed in the direction of the changing room, then took a breath and turned around to leave. Protector Zhang Wei wiped his cold sweat and spoke. "Next, please divide into 3 teams as mentioned during the training. The cleaner follows me, the vegetable washer follows Li Kun, and the waiter follows Su Qian. Each person first determines their own team and then goes to the changing room in an orderly manner to change clothes." The only woman among the caregivers, Su Qianlang, said in a voice, "All those who hold positions as waiters, come to my side now." Suddenly, more than 10 people walked out of the crowd and stood beside Su Qian. Lin Chen thought for a moment and followed the crowd to Su Qian. 1, 2, 3. 15. Su Qianqing counted the number of people and suddenly widened her eyes, feeling a bit confused. Why is there suddenly an extra person here? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Is not excessive, is it? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 is not excessive, is it? Quickly, she fixed her gaze on Lin Chen and exclaimed in surprise, "Did you go to the wrong team?" "No, you're not on the new player list. Who are you? The others quickly moved away like avoiding snakes and scorpions. Everyone has heard many ghost stories. Suddenly, there is an extra person in a team, and no matter how you think, they are all ghosts. For a moment, some people felt like they were facing a great enemy, while others were so scared that they covered their mouths, and some even wanted to turn around and run away. This temporary team suddenly appeared disorganized due to such a change. Lin Chen saw that he was about to panic and said speechlessly, "Little sister, what kind of training are you talking about? Why haven't I attended? Have you even counted the number of people before? Why hasn't anyone notified me? You didn't attend the training." Su Qian was first surprised, and then suddenly realized, "I know, you are the player of invitation letter number 59. Lin Chen nodded and said, "That's right. Is number 59 a very special existence? That's why the organization didn't specifically train me." Su Qian's face turned black, but she still regained her composure. She ignored Lin Chen and said loudly, "Everyone, come with me to the changing room to change clothes." Lin Chen saw this and did not chase after him to continue questioning. Whether it's a thriller game or other human players, including 3 guardians with ghostly powers. He has already understood a rough idea, and there is plenty of time left to learn about thriller games. There is no need to pester Su Qian and answer anything for him. The ghost restaurant is very large, and even the changing room is reserved for waiters. When everyone arrived, Su Qian walked into the women's changing room with a few ladies. Before leaving, she just said, "Accelerate the pace and change clothes as soon as possible." Lin Chen glanced at the rows of black suits hanging on the clothesline. The black suit looks a bit red and emits an unpleasant odor. Lin Chen sighed inwardly, it's truly a thrilling game. The uniforms worn by these waiters have all been soaked in blood, and I'm getting more and more excited. After years of catching ghosts and selling them for money to become stronger, Lin Chen couldn't develop any fear of ghosts. Even the more eerie and terrifying the scene, the more excited Lin Chen became. No other ordinary players noticed anything unusual, just thinking that there was no ventilation for a long time, and there would inevitably be a strange smell. They could only endure nausea and quickly changed one by one. Lin Chen stood in place, looking around intentionally or unintentionally. At this moment, he felt a ghostly creature emitting energy hidden in some corners of the changing room, but he didn't know where it was. This ghost is hidden deep. From this perspective, at least it's a red-clothed level ghost, otherwise it's impossible to hide it from oneself. Lin Chen thought to himself. The other waiters saw that he had not changed clothes, thinking that this newcomer who had not attended the training was frightened and couldn't help but sneer. People are like this. When negative emotions are heavy, suddenly realizing that someone is not as good as themselves, their mood naturally relaxes. These people, unconsciously, have a slight decrease in their nervousness, as if someone is acting as a cushion for them. Even if they die, this kid who knows nothing will die first. Lin Chen glanced at the few people and noticed their expressions changing. He felt a little clear in his heart and couldn't help but sneer. I casually picked up a piece of clothing of similar size and changed it quietly for a while. At this moment, everyone had already changed their clothes. They stood up and glanced at Lin Chen, who was still changing clothes, and all turned around and left indifferently. Lin Chen remained calm and unhurried as he changed his clothes. After the clothes were changed, he hummed a tune and walked to the mirror, looked in the mirror, and tidied up his hairstyle. Compared to the rush of others, it looks very unconventional. He is waiting for the hidden ghost to appear voluntarily. Your companions have all left, aren't you afraid? Behind him, a black figure resembling ink emerged from the shadows on the ground. This was a male ghost covered in oil, dressed in the attire of a worker, with his skin wrapped in oil, making it impossible to see his original appearance. However, amidst the pitch-black oil, a bright red bag fluttering in the air indicates that this ghost is a fierce red-clothed ghost. Dida. Dida. The sound of oil dripping from his body on the ground appeared very eerie in the dim changing room. What a pity, I was abandoned by my companions. The voice of the oil ghost was cold and greedy, as if a person who had been hungry for 3 days had seen a long-awaited feast. Lin Chen slowly turned around and asked calmly, "Do you want to attack me?" In thriller games, if a player doesn't trigger any mechanism, you can't actively attack me, right? You are the only one who stayed at the end and looked in my mirror, which has offended me. As compensation, I don't want you to have one arm too much, right? Looking in the mirror means killing someone. Lin Chen was a bit speechless. He just asked specifically to confirm Zhang Wei's claim about the protection mechanism of thriller games for the human side. But for now, it seems that this protection mechanism is just that. After the oil ghost finished saying these words, he rushed over with excitement and a fierce smile on his face. However, as soon as he approached Lin Chen, he was about to grab his hands and tear off his arm when he saw Lin Chen suddenly move. He could only vaguely see Lin Chen's hands lifted, and suddenly felt a huge force coming from above, directly being beaten to the ground. The oil ghost lay on the ground, stunned on the spot. This is the power that humans can possess. Lin Chen grabbed the oil ghost's hair and lifted their head. He smiled and replied in their original words, "You want my arms, I want your body, isn't that too much?" The oil ghost, who had already been stunned and fell into self-doubt, suddenly changed his expression upon hearing these words and said in panic, "Big brother, I am a man." Lin Chen's face turned black and he said, "Who really wants this from you? I want to sell you to the black mining area to mine." Oil ghost. Immediately, he saw a pink sack appear out of thin air in the boy's hand, and then directly covered his head. Suddenly, a pitch-black scene fell before my eyes. Lin Chen collected the burlap bag, shrunk it, then put it back on his body and left the changing room directly. For ordinary people, there are crises everywhere here, but for them, these crises often represent money and resources. System, sell him to me. Successfully resold and obtained 1,000 divine and mysterious coins, Shengui coin balance. 1,000, seeing the price at which the oil ghost was selling, Lin Chen's anger disappeared without a trace. This is a red-clothed ghost that has just entered the red-clothed stage, with average strength, so the price is only the lowest 1,000 divine and mysterious coins. But for Lin Chen, this is still a significant gain. He has worked day and night in human society for so many years, but he has never caught such a valuable ghost. When Lin Chen walked out of the locker room, there was no one in front of the door. It seemed that all the players had already left and went to the staff hall to wait for the assignment of work tasks. Lin Chen had no choice but to follow the signs in the hallway and walk towards the staff hall. At the moment when the oil ghost was successfully resold by the system, all the ghosts, big and small, in the restaurant were confused for a moment. At this point, they had already received information in the ghost channel in their minds. The ghost player, oil ghost, has been eliminated. These ghosts were instantly shocked. The ghost restaurant dungeon has been opened so many times, and this is the first time I have heard of a red-clothed ghost being eliminated. What's the situation? The oil ghost is dressed in red. Who can defeat these novice players? Is it the hand of the protector? Those 3 protectors, with only dozens or hundreds of ghostly powers and Qingyi's strength, together are not opponents of the oil ghost. Is there a master among human players? Just kidding, I've never heard of a novice player who can kill the red devil before. I just ran into the oil ghost, and he said he went to the locker room to try his luck. This time, he really hit the jackpot. Anyway, the power of those who can kill the oil demons in the early days of the red shirt era cannot be underestimated. We need to be careful, don't make mistakes later and hit the iron plate. The oil ghost went to the room where the waiter changed clothes, so the person who killed the oil ghost is likely to be someone among the waiters. I am a chef, supervising the vegetable washer, and there are hidden experts in the waiters, which has nothing to do with me. That's right, I supervise the cleaners, it's okay. I'll go, I'm responsible for being a customer, the gaming experience is extremely poor. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. This is such a spoof. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. This is such a spoof. When Lin Chen appeared in the staff hall, he was still within half an hour as stipulated by the leader ghost, but all the human players here, except for him, had already arrived early. Lin Chen was the last one to come in. After seeing him come in, Su Qian's beautiful eyes flashed with helplessness, saying that thriller games are very dangerous, and this untrained person dared to stay alone. Fortunately, this person had good luck and arrived at the employee hall unscathed. A few people who were waiters like Lin Chen also noticed Lin Chen. They all just glanced at Lin Chen and silently turned their heads, whispering something in pairs. I don't know when these people had already formed a group, and because Lin Chen had not participated in the newcomer training, and Su Qian's attitude towards him was also very indifferent, these people instinctively excluded Lin Chen as an outsider. Lin Chen naturally didn't care about these things and casually found a seat to sit down. Not long after, I saw the leader ghost dressed in red walking in from the door. He glanced around at the number of people and without any further ado, arranged work directly. Everyone had a share, and Lin Chen also received the job. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Lin Chen always felt that the leader ghost gave him a few more glances while scanning the crowd. Lin Chen is also unaware of this, so when he caught the oil ghost just now, there was absolutely no one or anything around him, otherwise he would have noticed it to some extent. His physique is 176, which has elevated his 5 senses to an astonishing level. In the end, Lin Chen didn't think much and received today's work task. Responsible for serving all guests dining at table 4. Everyone silently walked out of the employee hall, preparing to perform their respective duties. At this moment, Su Qian caught up and said concisely beside Lin Chen. You haven't attended any training before, and now I'm telling you it's too late. As you can see, this place is full of ghosts. If you want to survive, you need to do your job well and be careful of those ghosts' intentional fault finding. In short, you can do things seamlessly, so that ghost customers can't nitpick, and the other party can't attack you. Let's work hard to survive. Lin Chen didn't expect that Su Qian would take the initiative to explain to him, and couldn't help but frown slightly. It seems you're not too bad yet. Su Qian was stunned on the spot and immediately trembled with anger. What does it mean? Am I still a bad person in your eyes before we were together? No, it doesn't mean too bad, that's still bad. What do you think? I am representing the government to help you, why have I become the villain? Su Qian snorted angrily, suppressed the urge to hit someone, turned around, and left. And Lin Chen waited quietly on the side for the arrival of the guests. Not long after, a ghost wrapped in bandages walked in from the door. This ghost is covered in bandages all over its body, just like a mummy that just jumped out of a pyramid. Judging from the fluctuation of ghost power emanating from all over his body, this is a green-clothed level evil spirit. Seeing the ghost come to her door, Su Qian furrowed her brows and hurriedly sent a message on the player channel. Protector Su Qian. Be careful, everyone. Ghosts are very difficult to come into contact with. Remember everything we talked about during the training, don't bargain with ghosts, let alone try to get close. Ghosts won't buy your account, it will only accelerate your death. Steal coin. Understood, Su Team. Cute rabbit. This ghost, just like a mummy, is so scary. Which table will he sit at? Will he sit at the place where I am responsible? He hasn't been mentally prepared yet. Protector Su Qian. Stay calm, he's coming in. Hello sir, welcome to visit. The human player receptionist in front of the door shouted. His name is Wang Gu, and he looks like he is 20.4 or 5 years old. He is a very sunny-looking young man with a very handsome face, which is also the reason why he was selected as a receptionist. "Sir, please come inside." Wang Gu mustered up his courage and walked out with a forced smile, offering guidance. The bandaged ghost remained silent and followed the young man towards the shop. Wang Gu walked ahead, appearing calm on the surface. His back had already been soaked in cold sweat, and anyone who was followed by a ghost might not be able to bear it in his heart. Other players also stared at the bandaged ghost with fear in their eyes. Su Qian is equally nervous in her heart. As a protector, on the human side, she also comes with a task, which is the survival rate of her own team. If the 15 human players she is responsible for survive a lot, the rewards given to her by the government will also be higher after her return. Among the crowd present, only Lin Chen's face remained unchanged when he saw the bandaged ghost, while a greedy expression flashed through his eyes. This is a walking 300 divine and mysterious coin. Everyone had different thoughts, but they didn't know that the bandaged ghost was also extremely nervous at this moment. Thinking of the death of this red-clad ghost, the existence of killing the oil ghost is hidden among these immature beginners. As the bandaged ghost of the ghost, a feeling called fear actually arises. Especially this sense of unknownness made her fantasize and become more cautious and suspicious. Along with walking, there are some twists and turns. Struggling to the table with Wang Gu, they sat down. Wang Gu turned around, his face covered in cold sweat, and forced a smile, saying, "Hello sir, please take a seat for a moment, and I will arrange a waiter for you." Although Wang Gu was afraid, he was still quite fortunate in his heart. The job he received as a receptionist was the simplest way to interact with ghosts, which made many people who were also waiters envious. Now, seeing that he has completed his task, he plans to withdraw. The bandaged ghost, on the other hand, remained silent, staring blankly at him and thinking to himself, "Isn't that the master who killed the oil ghost?" Appearing very timid, but who knows if it's just a pretense. Some people are more powerful and psychologically abnormal, just like some powerful and cruel ghosts. The bandaged ghost hesitated for a long time and suddenly said, "Actually, I'm a woman. Female. What is the relationship between a woman and me? Do we need special services?" Wang Gu was momentarily stunned, then his body shook and he almost fainted on the spot. He remembered that just now, his nickname for the bandaged ghost was Sir. I didn't expect to make such a big mistake myself. It's over. Turning her head to seek help, she looked at Su Qian, only to see that her entire pretty face had turned blue. When she saw him looking, Su Qian just turned her head and stopped looking at him. The guide is trying their best to guide new players and help them survive as much as possible, rather than just being tough bodyguards with ghosts. Otherwise, not to mention only 3 one-star players, even if there are 30 more one-star players, they won't be so many ghosts. Upon seeing this, Wang Gu also understood and couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. Everyone thought Wang Gu was dead, but at this moment, the bandaged ghost spoke again, "Be careful next time, forget about this time." Wang Gu was completely dumbfounded. He suspected his ears. Isn't it true that ghosts are difficult to get along with? Is the protector scaring me? Other players who were already mourning for Wang Gu opened their mouths to the size of wanting to swallow a duck egg on the spot. Su Qianmei's eyes widened, and then her face was full of suspicion. She only had one idea. Is this ghost having a conspiracy? Wang Gu narrowly escaped death and quickly responded, "Thank you, thank you. I will arrange a waiter for you and wish you a pleasant meal." This is really a good ghost. Wang Gu was moved to tears and constantly felt grateful. The bandaged ghost also felt a slight relaxation in his heart. My attitude, even if that expert is present, in my eyes, shouldn't be too difficult for me. Wang Gu quickly approached Lin Chen and said briefly, "The guest has arrived at table 4. Go and order your meal quickly. You are very lucky. This ghost has a good personality, so there shouldn't be any danger." Wang Gu looked familiar and spoke words of gratitude for Lin Chen. In fact, he and several other players discussed the matter of guiding the first ghost on table 4. Facing ghosts for the first time, no one had a clear idea, so in the end, it was decided to guide the guests to Lin Chen, who seemed to be more bullied and had not attended any training, at the table in charge. Let Lin Chen go and try the water, they can also learn some experience by watching from behind. Lin Chen smiled. He had seen so many people like Wang Gu, and he understood these things at a glance. He was too lazy to expose them. Since he had already arrived at the table he was responsible for, he would not refuse at the moment. He walked calmly to the bandage ghost and smiled, "Beauty, what would you like to eat?" Upon hearing this, beautiful woman, the brains of all human players, including Su Qian, hummed. "I'll go." You heard me right. This guy is actually called Ghost Beauty. Are you so brave? Just because someone has a good temper doesn't mean you can just let yourself go. The bandage ghost looked up at Lin Chen and couldn't help but tremble, unsure if it was a psychological effect. At first glance, the bandage ghost felt that the expert in solving the oil ghost was the person in front of him. Because in Lin Chen's eyes, she seemed to see a hint of aggression that was difficult to hide. This kind of gaze is like a criminal who kills and sets fire by any means possible. The bandage ghost swallowed her saliva and became even more nervous, only to see her weakly say, "All right." The other players who had been watching on this side suddenly widened their eyes. Signed and will be updated in the future. I hope everyone can bookmark and recommend more. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Abnormal Copy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Abnormal Copy. How could this female ghost say anything? He is indeed a good-tempered ghost, just easy to talk about. Everyone felt a surge of envy in their hearts. Lin Chen was also somewhat surprised in his heart. Big brother. You are teasing the female ghost like a girl. However, the bandage ghost still said the same thing. It's okay. Lin Chen nodded and immediately finished writing the menu, then turned around and walked towards the kitchen. Arriving at the kitchen, Lin Chen handed in the menu and said, "I'll have some pickled cucumbers." There are human players serving as dishwashers in the kitchen, as well as ghosts cutting and stir-frying various foods. However, the treatment of these players is much worse compared to the hall. Seeing Lin Chen arrive, a chubby chef ghost with a face full of flesh walked out of it. In the kitchen, there were human players who saw Lin Chen passing dishes. They no longer had a good impression of Lin Chen because the chubby chef ghost that came out was the most vicious and cruel one in the kitchen. It is believed that Lin Chen will definitely face difficulties when facing this chubby chef ghost. The expression on the chubby chef's ghost was originally very fierce, but when he walked up to Lin Chen, his expression suddenly changed and he said with a friendly expression, "Brother, you look kind-hearted. You must be a new human player who joined the thriller game. Here, everyone is their own person. If you have anything, please let me know. Don't be polite." As soon as this statement was made, the human player washing vegetables inside was stunned on the spot. Is this what ghosts say? If it weren't for just now, they were being harassed by this chubby chef ghost, they would have thought he was a kind-hearted old man. At this moment, the chubby chef's face was calm, but his heart was pounding. He had just bullied the dishwasher and almost forgot that a fierce ghost in red clothes seemed to have died at the hands of a certain waiter. Lin Chen also felt a bit confused. Whether it was the bandage ghost or the chef ghost in front of him, he always felt that his attitude was too good, making him feel embarrassed to take out a sack of powder. Smiling, he handed the menu to the chef ghost. After the chef ghost accepted it, his expression couldn't help but darken and he blurted out, Take a cucumber." Then he glanced at Lin Chen, who remained calm and expressionless, and the chef ghost's face suddenly cleared up, saying, "Cough. Cough. It's wrapped around me, look good." This time, even the guardianly coon who is picking bones for people's hands is foolish. He has experienced many dungeons, and this attitude of ghosts is also the first time he has seen them. Is it because all the dungeons I've experienced are fake, or is this ghost suddenly losing its mind? Just now, how could the attitude towards the extremely fierce chef ghost be so enthusiastic? What about differential treatment? The chubby chef ghost crawled into the kitchen and picked up a fresh cucumber in front of a group of dull-looking human players, operating it with a crackling sound. When the chubby chef ghost handed the cucumber to Lin Chen, his expression was even more enthusiastic. "Brother, I have made more portions of this dish. You can try it. If you're hungry in the future, come over and tell me, don't be polite." The chubby chef patted Lin Chen on the shoulder, taking good brothers one by one, and even handed him a ghost cigarette while speaking. After Lin Chen picked it up, he smiled and said thank you before picking up the dishes and leaving. After Lin Chen left, the chubby chef wiped the sweat off his head, turned around, and crawled into the kitchen. He looked at the vegetable washers who were stagnant and forgot to work, and said angrily, "What the hell are you looking at? If you don't hurry to work, whoever wants to wash the food in your hands or not clean it, you can use your own organs to repair it." In the restaurant, a fresh plate of pickled cucumbers was placed on the bandaged ghost's table in front of everyone's strange eyes. "Let's eat." Lin Chen smiled and said. The first customer resolved the issue and received positive feedback from the bandaged ghost. At the same time, the sound of the system rings from the mind. Received a guest's full score review, which has increased the player's score for this dungeon. The final settlement will be made at the end of the dungeon. Su Qianxiu frowned slightly and walked up to Lin Chen, saying, "You were too reckless just now. You were lucky enough to meet a talkative ghost. Otherwise, just by saying a beautiful woman, you could move your mind. If you can live until tonight, I'll find a chance to train you alone. Individual training. Is there still such a good thing? Do you have any special thoughts about me?" "I'm still a virgin," Lin Chen said with a somewhat skeptical expression. Su Qian said with a dark face, "Chu Nima, is there something seriously wrong with your brain? Can't you understand what's going on? This is a thriller game, and you can die at any time." As soon as Su Qian finished speaking, Lin Chen received a notification from a thriller game in his mind. Human players, Donald Duck has been eliminated. Donald Duck is the game name chosen by players. Su Qian clearly saw the notice and her face became a bit gloomy. She whispered, "This has just begun, and someone has already died. You didn't attend the training and don't know much about this place, but in this world full of ghosts, the level of danger is not high. You are a member of my team, so I have an obligation to remind you that if you continue to die, then no one else can be blamed. I guarantee that the next ghost you encounter will never be as easy to talk as the bandaged ghost just now." Just then, another ghost came knocking on the door. This is the burn ghost who had to start hurting people during the player protection period when entering the restaurant. However, the burn ghost at this moment looks completely opposite to the previous ferocity. He smiled all over his face, although it was full of kindness, it made him look even more sinister and ferocious. After seeing the burned ghost, Su Qian said, "This ghost is a very fierce ghost. Next, you can see how others treat these ghosts." Lin Chen nodded thoughtfully. He didn't feel scared by Su Qian's words, but also realized something was wrong. The bandage ghost and the chef ghost looked a bit too good. Did they discover me when I caught the oil ghost? The burn ghost entered the door, and Wang Gu, who was responsible for guiding him, walked up to him. He couldn't conceal his nervousness and said, "Welcome, please come inside." This ghost is definitely the one that leaves the deepest impression on many players. After all, this is the first ghost to launch an attack on humans. The level of ferocity is evident. The smile on the burned ghost's face became even more intense, looking particularly terrifying. Wang Gu couldn't help but take 2 steps back in fear. But the burned ghost said hoarsely, "Thank you very much." This thank you directly stunned Wang Gu, guiding the burned ghost into his seat in a daze until other players were arranged to order food. but he didn't react. Why does it seem like the burned ghost is not as fierce as before? The player in charge of serving the burned ghost table didn't notice anything. At first, he walked forward with a bitter face and ordered dishes for him. Due to nervousness, the player even collided with the table in front of the burned ghost. However, the burned ghost showed no signs of anger towards this and instead politely comforted him with 2 words of whether he had been injured. The waiters in the lobby were completely dumbfounded by this. It's so weird. Su Qian's small mouth opened in an O shape, and her 3 senses were about to collapse. She turned her head and saw Lin Chen looking at him with a suspicious expression on her face. Her pretty face immediately turned red and she said, "There is a conspiracy, there must be a conspiracy. That's not right." Lin Chen did not continue to tease Su Qian, but instead turned his gaze to the burned ghost, feeling lost in thought. At this moment, the burned ghost, although sitting motionless at the dining table, could easily tell from the wandering eyes that the ghost was looking for something. Is it true that someone detected the oil ghost when it was caught? That's not right, if the ghost really discovers that he caught the oil ghost, but there's no need to be so friendly to all the waiters, right? The bandage ghost had a clear sense of fear in its eyes, and the attitude of the burned ghost was completely opposite, which was indeed unusual. The bandage ghost and burned ghost have a very friendly attitude towards all the waiters, indicating that they are only afraid of the waiters but not sure who they are. But how do these ghosts know? Lin Chen frowned slightly and inwardly thought. Being able to think so much is not how wise Lin Chen is, it is entirely due to his guilty conscience. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Daily Work Performance Distribution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 9. Want to divide equally. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 10. When Strange Knocks on the Door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. When Strange Knocks on the Door. Upon hearing this, Li Kun's face stiffened, and then the weather fluctuated. He believed that Su Qian was targeting him. Su Qian's face showed a hint of disdain upon seeing this, and then she said, "Ghost coins are the common currency among all horror game dungeons, with a high value. When exchanged for RMB, it is equivalent to a 1.100 exchange rate. So if you are willing to take out ghost coins, remember to negotiate the price." After speaking, Su Qian also bought some food from the vending machine and turned around to leave. After Su Qian left, the atmosphere became slightly lively. 1 ghost coin equals 100 renminbi. There were some lucky waiters present, but none of them had ghost coins above 300, which translates to 30,000 renminbi. Getting so much wealth in one day makes people feel a bit excited. Some people even started discussing with Wang Hong on the spot. Some people wanted to take the ghost coins back to the outside world and exchange them into RMB. Finally, they held 300 or 400 ghost coins and bought 2 mantu directly before leaving the scene. Everyone has different choices, and in the end, wealthy people like Wang Hong still rely on external strength to obtain some extra ghost coins. Including the protector Li Kun, he also obtained ghost coins from others. After all, in this situation, pleasing the protector is equivalent to opening an extra path for himself. Everyone moved into the employee dormitory one after another, and almost no one dared to live alone except for 3 caregivers. Afterwards, Zhang Wei said in the group again. Defender Zhang Wei. Everyone, have a good meal and rest quickly. Starting at midnight, players in the ghost restaurant will hear ghosts knocking on their doors. No matter what news you hear, don't open the door. You'll die if you open the door. Received, thank you Captain Zhang. Understood, heard during training. Lin Chen was eating and also saw this message. Does the ghost knock on the door after 12 o'clock? It seems that the night won't be peaceful either. This indicates that the ghosts in the restaurant will not come out until 12 o'clock, and then hunt the players who leave the dormitory room. It's only 9 o'clock now, and there are still 3 hours left until 12 o'clock. Lin Chen is not in a hurry either, just secretly anticipating in his heart. The night is the home ground of ghosts, and it is also his home ground. During the day, he was constantly learning about thriller games, and there were many people and ghosts, so he didn't have the opportunity to take action. Therefore, Lin Chen only caught one oil ghost, and the other ghosts could only watch them leave after finishing their meal greedily. So during the day, Lin Chen seemed calm, but in fact, every time he walked a customer ghost, his heart silently bled. Blessed by Bodhisattva, I hope there will be more ghosts coming tonight. Time passed by little, and finally it was midnight. Lin Chen jumped up directly from bed, excitedly preparing to go out and look for ghosts. However, just as he was about to open the door, there was suddenly a knocking sound outside the door. It's the next room. Lin Chen was taken aback, so punctual. Did the ghost come out just as it was 12 o'clock? At this moment, 5 fierce ghosts, big and small, stood in the hallway of the dormitory. A ghost is knocking on the door next to Lin Chen's room. This ghost looks like a teenager, but it has pink hair and golden eyes. The ghost power emanating from it is a green-clothed evil spirit. He knocked on the door for a while and saw that no matter how strong or weak the force was, there was no sound coming from inside the door. He couldn't help but feel a little helpless and said, "The dormitories where players live are protected by thriller games. Unless the humans inside open them on their own, even the red-clad ghost cannot break through the door at all." Another old ghost trembled and asked, "New young man, this is skilled, it depends on me." He leaned forward to the door and shouted softly, "Wang Hong, I'm Grandpa. Surprisingly, you've also come to the world of horror. Did you come to see Grandpa? Open the door, Grandpa misses you." This room is the residence of Wang Hong, who stood up and said to share the ghost coins equally. These ghosts have been hidden in the store, and almost everyone's name is known. When he speaks, his voice is mixed with ghost power, making people unable to help but believe it. The old ghost kept talking from the door, and the 4 players who were originally trembling in the room living together in the same dormitory were stunned. They looked at the wealthy Wang Hong alone and asked, "Wang Hong, is your grandfather here? Do you want to open the door?" Wang Hong's already ironclad face couldn't hold back and said, "Damn it, my grandfather is still living well. Before I came in, I just celebrated his 80th birthday." The old man ghost shouted for a while without a trace, but stopped and stomped his feet in anger, cursing loudly. He looked like an old scoundrel, and after cursing his unfilial son and Geneva several times, he angrily retreated to the back. This old ghost doesn't know if it's not finished or if it's completely evolved. He really thinks of himself as Wang Hong's grandfather. This time, it was replaced by another female ghost. She wore a lotus flower on her head, which looked like an individual face, but her appearance was very ugly. Her whole face was twisted, and there were bloodstains constantly flowing from her eyes, nose, and mouth. "Little brother, hurry up and be rough. I'm afraid of being alone outside." Completely different from her appearance, her voice is charming and pleasant, surprisingly very pleasant to listen to. "I'm also a player. I accidentally ran out without a room key, and the ghost came out on horseback. Please open the door and let me in. Then you can do whatever you want, help me, open the door." The lotus ghost, in order to be more realistic, had the same expression on his face as his voice, which could be said to be full of emotions. However, the door in front of him still showed no signs of opening. What they didn't know was that the 4 players in the room were quietly discussing. This ghost is so coquettish. One pretends to be Wang Hong's grandfather, while the other pretends to be a beautiful woman and tricks on her. "Don't say it, the low voice sounds nice." Wang Hongdao said, "We all know it's a ghost. Any trick we use is useless." The four of us have the best quality in all aspects of the team. As long as one person stays clear, this ghost cannot deceive us. In their eyes, the ghosts outside were the same, and they never expected that there were 5 ghosts with different appearances outside at this moment, with big eyes versus small eyes. The Lotus Ghost saw that the routine was not working, so he had to step down and switch to another player. However, after all the ghosts operated, none of them made the door in front of them open, and they couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. They all moved to a different room in frustration. They arrived at Lin Chen's doorstep. Just as the GoldenEye ghost was about to knock on the door, they saw the old ghost blocking them and saying, "Is this the waiter living inside? Forget it. You all know about the oil ghost, be careful not to kick it onto the iron plate." Upon hearing this, the ghosts nodded one after another. Relatively speaking, they were only green-clothed ghosts, and against the strong ones in red, they could hardly run away even if they wanted to. However, what they didn't know was that while they were discussing, just one door away, Lin Chen was lying on the door, listening clearly to what they were saying now. Lin Chen's expression was surprised. Judging from the ghosts who behaved abnormally during the day, Lin Chen had already guessed, but at this moment, he couldn't help but be surprised when he heard the truth. Because he couldn't figure out how he caught the oil ghost himself and was detected by these ghosts. You should know that at that time, apart from him and the oil ghost, there was no one present, whether it was a person or a ghost. The old man ghost said outside the door, "Let's take a detour and go to the next room." Upon hearing this, Lin Chen no longer pondered and opened the door without saying a word. Click. The sound of the door opening echoed in the quiet hallway of the dormitory. Suddenly, these ghosts were stunned. What is the situation? However, before they could react, they saw a human hand emitting ghostly power inside the house, coming towards them. Immediately afterwards, a suction force was felt, and 5 ghosts were simultaneously sucked into Lin Chen's room. Bang! The door closed and everything returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. End of this chapter.